Ladies and gents, welcome back to another edition of the Quick Bricks NBA DFS podcast. It is post-Thanksgiving. Hopefully everybody is coming out of their food-induced comas from eating all the turkey dressing, so on and so forth. It's Friday. We have 12 games that are going to be on the NBA slate tonight. I do plan on going over every single one of them as we speak. So I'm not going to talk too much and hold this up. I know it's going to be a decently longer pod, so let's go ahead and just get right into it with Houston traveling to Detroit. These two just faced off in Houston here a couple of days ago. Houston comes in as a 4.5-point favorite, 217 on the total, rather low total. This game was basically concentrated by a couple different people in their just the other day. So Blake Griffin went off for a monster line, 37, 11, 4. Drummond had a decent line with 20, 13 and some. Harden had a monster game with 43, 7, 9, and 4. CP3 had a decent game at 22, 7, and 1. So basically those are the guys I'll probably be targeting for the most part. I'm not a big fan of playing Capella on the road. I don't think that this is a good spot for him as well. He did have a pretty decent game the other night, but I don't believe I will be on him. Harden at 10-7, sure, his usage has been through the damn roof. It's 36% or so. It's the highest usage rate of any player at the time. So Harden, if you're paying up, it's okay. I think there's obviously some other games with some more decent spots. But don't hate Harden. CP3 at 7-9 I think is a very, very fair price. Blake Griffin at 9-2, sure. Drummond at 8-9, sure. If you want to look at some cheapies, I think obviously I keep going back to Eric Gordon, and he keeps letting me down. I'm not going to be on him tonight. I think if I'm going to look, I'm probably going to look at it like a cheap-ish. Ish Smith put up, double-digit shot attempts in their last game. Might look at him. I might look at Reggie Bullock. I know Reggie Bullock is definitely a cash game staple at his price. He gets the minutes. He's got a decent floor. So Bullock, if you're into cash, I'm okay with. For Houston, like I said, Harden, CP3. Not really looking at Capella. Not really a fan of Ennis. Don't believe I'll be playing PJ Tucker. Basically just going to concentrate on the big four there: Harden, CP3, Griffin, and Drummond. And then, like I said, cheapies for Detroit, Bullock, Ish Smith. Those are probably the guys I'll be looking at. And that's about it. So move right along. Boston at Atlanta. Boston coming in here is a 9-point road fave, 218 on the total. Like I said, another lower total on the board. One of my more favorite plays in this one is Jason Tatum at 6.3. He's had 35, 43, and 42 in his last 3 road games. He's been playing very well on the road. I think this game sets up well for him. Atlanta is a paced up team. They will try to play a little bit paced up. Boston is going to have to play a little paced up. In that retrospect, I think Tatum is a good look. I think Kyrie is a good look. I don't hate Marcus Morris at 4.9. If you're into the revenge, you can look at Al Horford at 5.8 if he does happen to play. If he does not happen to play, I would definitely like Tatum quite a bit more. Also Kyrie. But Horford at 5'8", he did play for Atlanta back in the day, so this is kind of a revenge game for him. But on the other cheap side, I like Marcus Morris at 4.9. For Atlanta, I really like Trae Young at 6'7". He's been kind of going under the radar lately. 2 games ago, he put up almost 54 fantasy points against the Clippers. The Clippers have been getting decimated by point guards here lately for some reason. But Trae Young at 6'7", I think is a decent mid-priced point guard on this slate. I think he'll go overlooked because everybody looks to always fade anybody playing Boston. So Trae Young at 6'7", I think is a decent look if you can fit him. Jeremy Lin in the same retrospect. Everybody, what I was going to say was Boston has actually been pretty bad against the point guard spot. I know about 2 pods ago I talked about not playing against Kyrie, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was Rubio or somebody, and Rubio torched him. So anyway, Trae Young 6'7", really like. Jeremy Lin 3.8. His last 3 or 4 have been 34, 32, and 29.3 fantasy points. So he's been putting up good numbers. That's really about all that I'm going to be looking for in Atlanta. I don't really care for most of their bigs. Maybe a Dedmon if you want to, but he's not too high on my list. That's really just about, Bazemore at 5'3". He just hasn't been getting it done, but I could see him maybe having a decent game tonight. So Bazemore at 5'3", I don't hate. Other than that, that's really about all I'm looking at in Boston and Atlanta. Let's go right along to the Pelicans and the Knicks. This has the highest total on the board at the moment, 236. Pelicans come in as a 7-point favorite. If you remember correctly, AD put up almost 77 fantasy points against the Knicks in their last meeting. He is 11-6 tonight. I'm sure he will be chalk city, and I'm sure he will probably get injured in the first quarter. Drew Holiday, 8.3. He put up 49 last game. Julius Randle, a guy that I really like, at 7.5. I think that's a very fair price. Put up 38 against him last game. Those are the three that I'll probably be looking at mostly for the Pelicans. As far as the Knicks go, THJ put up a 48-pointer last game against them. Trey Burke at 4.4 is still way too freaking cheap, and I don't know if they keep pricing him cheaply, thinking that he's going to have a letdown game. I mean, obviously he's going to have to bottom out here or regress a little bit, I'd say. Over 41 in 2 of his last 3. He just put up 60 points versus Boston. Maybe that's what it was. I got to the point where I was kind of fading anybody playing Kyrie over the last 2 games, and then Burke comes out and drops 60 on him. So, anyway, Vonleh, back-to-back double-doubles. He's 4.3 tonight, over 40 fantasy points in both of those games as well. Noah Vonleh, definitely be looking at. So, THJ, Trey Burke, Vonleh, AD, Holiday, Randall. Cantor will probably want to try to get his in here on this one. So if you're feeling froggy, I don't hate Cantor. But that's kind of what I'm looking at in the Pelicans in the Knicks game. Cleveland at Philadelphia. Cleveland comes in as a 13.5-point road dog here. 220 on the total. Really like Embiid once again. His price, it just hasn't changed. 60 or more in his last 2, 58 points or more in his last 5 or 6. How do you not pay 10? How do you not pay that kind of price for that kind of production? He's been playing plenty of minutes. He's just dominating everything. So Simmons at 8.8, put up 54, 48, 46 in his last 3. So Ben Simmons, obviously. For Cleveland, I think you can look at Jordan Clarkson at 5.3. He's put up 27 or more in his last 2. David Nwaba at 3.7, 22-plus minutes in his last 4. He's playing plenty of minutes. I think a cheapie you can look at is definitely a GPP dart is Kyle Korver. He's played 18 minutes in his last 2 at 3.1K. It's funny because there's been talks of maybe Philadelphia wanting a guy like Korver, so it'd be kind of funny to see Korver go out and drop a 30 FP game on him or something. At 3-1, almost mid price, getting closer to 18 to 20 minutes. I don't exactly hate it. It's a dart. So that's kind of where I'm looking at. Other than for Cleveland, I'm not on buckets tonight. I don't really see the major appeal for Jimmy B. Sexton, he's just a point per minute guy to me at the time. He hasn't really been having huge upside. I think Clarkson actually brings a little bit more upside, but he doesn't exactly bring the minutes. I don't know. That's really, I'm not a fan of Nance down low against these guys. That's, Tristan Thompson's probably going to get he's going to get his lunch ate by Embiid. So that's where I'm at with Cleveland and Philadelphia. I'm going to stick with that. Washington at Toronto. You have the sixth highest paced team in Washington going against the 11th highest paced team so far on the season with Toronto. So for a 228 total on the game, Toronto minus 10.5. I think this game has a lot of stackability, obviously. Wall at 8.7 I think is cheap. Kawhi is probably one of my more favorite plays tonight. He'll be returning from his one-game absence. He'll be ready to go, which Washington does not play defense. I would say Kawhi could easily put up, 45, 50 fantasy points tonight. Siakam at 6.4, sure. Serge at 6.2, sure. Lowry at 8K, yeah. I mean, I'm there. For Washington, like I said, Wall at 8.7, Jeff Green at 4.3. He's been my boy lately, 27 or more in his last 2. Satoransky, a couple guys in the Slack chat have been throwing his name around lately. Good call on him the last couple games. He's put up 25.5 and 34.3 in his last 2. He's 3.4K. That's kind of where I'm looking at with that. I think there's a couple good cheapies there. I think, Toronto is definitely worth stacking up, hoping that Washington can stay afloat in that game because the pace will be there. It should be there. So that's a decently game to look at for a game stack if you want to go that route. Miami at Chicago. Miami coming in at a -3 road favorite, 213 on the total, low total here. Whiteside is questionable, so obviously if we get Bam chalk again, I don't know what I'm going to do and pull my fucking hair out. But I really like Levine at 7.6, man. His price is way down. Miami hasn't exactly been covering the guard spots real awfully well. Levine's usage is still way up there at 7.6. He's put up over 41 fantasy points in his last 3 games at home. I definitely think he has 40-point fantasy upside tonight, so I definitely will be playing some Levine. I'm going to go back to my boy in Shaq Harrison at 3.6. He's put up 26 and 29.5 in his last 2 games. Probably one of my roster monster tonight, and everybody's probably going to laugh, but hey, I would just wait and see. It's Dwayne Wade at 4.7. He's returning to Chicago. We all know he's from Chicago. That's why he went back to play for the Bulls here. Was it last season? Or played 2 seasons there, and now he's back with Miami. But this is his return to his hometown. Get some D Wade in there at 4.7. Don't sleep on D Wade. Wayne Ellington at 4.3, 33 plus minutes in his last 2. He's continuing to see 30 minutes. At 4.3, I'll take it all day. So Wayne Ellington for sure. Don't hate Justice Winslow. Jabari Parker for Chicago. If you're feeling froggy, he just put up a 49-point fantasy point outing against Phoenix. We know Phoenix is not that good, but he had a pretty good game against them. So if you're feeling that, I'm probably not going to be playing him. So that's kind of where I'm at in Miami and Chicago. Let's go along right on into San Antonio at Indy. Obviously be looking to see if Depot plays or not. If Depot does not play, I think you probably will be inclined to play DDR at 8.2. I think that's a fair price for him, especially if there's no Depot. He should obviously keep the usage going. He's a usage monster still. But I think he kind of taken a little bit of a hit with Rudy Gay coming back. So obviously it's kind of a preference call there, but I think it's a good play. Obviously I do like Rudy Gay at 5.6 as well. I think he's in a decent spot. Bertans at 3.2 came back, played 19 or 20 minutes in their last game, so I'd be looking at him if you want a cheapie. For Indiana, obviously make sure Depot's not playing. But there's a couple of cheap guys to look at in this one, I think. I think you can look at, Bogdanovic at 4.8. He's went over 30 fantasy points in his last 2 games, played over 30 minutes. He's been finding his stroke. So Aaron Holiday at 3.3. He's put up 30.3 and 26.5 in his last 2 games, played 21 minutes and 26 minutes. So Aaron Holiday, he's been getting a little bit of buzz lately on the social media. But he's cheap. He's 3.3. So definitely be looking into him. Obviously, like I said, make sure Depot doesn't play or does play. I don't know if I'll be on him with his knee injury, whatever. Played 5 minutes in that last game that he played in and then was out. So, let's see. Other than that, I think LaMarcus Aldridge probably has a really good spot here. I just don't know if I want to pay for it. Obviously, this game should be a slower paced game. San Antonio games usually are. Indy really hadn't been playing at a real fast pace this year. They're kind of middle of the pack. Probably more towards the slower end. So I don't believe I'll be playing up for LMA, but I don't hate it. I might. I don't know. I'm going to have to look a little bit more into that one. But anyway, that's kind of where I'm going at with San Antonio and the Pacers. I think this game has a lot of sackability, and that's Charlotte and OKC. Charlotte's been running with some decent pace. We know OKC is in the top 10 in pace, I believe. If I had to look that one up again, maybe. Anyway, Russ at home at 10-9. Sure, anything under 11K with Russ, absolutely. Adams at 7-1, I think, is a really good price here on Adams. I like that one quite a bit. Jeremy Lamb returning to OKC, revenge narrative, 5.3. Go ahead and get him in there. I think little French girl Tony Parker at 3.6 might have a decent little decent value tonight. We know Schroeder doesn't play the greatest defense in the backup point guard spot, so Parker at 3.6 I don't hate. Kemba at 9.6, it's kind of a preference. It's a pretty high total. Russ has been kind of shutting down point guards lately though, so when he does play. So Kemba at 9.6, you kind of know he gets his, but he is a homebody at times. So I would be kind of weary of that. Paying 9.6 for him is it's up there, but he's been balling, so I can't hate on anybody who does decide to play him. That's kind of what I'm looking at for OKC. Paul George, if you want to play that, I don't hate it. He's been putting up some pretty good games, but he's also, I think he's like 8-9 or 9K. He's really just been hitting value lately, so that's up to you. Phoenix at Milwaukee. Milwaukee fourth highest pace. If Phoenix can keep up, this is the game that one of the games you obviously want to be stacking. Phoenix has been playing pretty well lately. They've been playing decently. Milwaukee, if they can hang around and Milwaukee doesn't run away with it in the third quarter, Giannis didn't even play the whole fourth quarter last game and he put up 71. This is another spot where he could absolutely dominate. This is a smash spot for Giannis once again. Just hopefully he plays all four quarters. He could probably put up 80 points, Obviously, you have the Bledsoe revenge game here at 6'9". Eric Bledsoe, he played for Phoenix. He hated Phoenix. So get some Bledsoe in at 6.9. For Phoenix, I don't exactly hate Booker, but I'm probably I don't know. With this pace-up matchup, I can see playing Booker over some other options that I've already went over. But I don't exactly love Booker, but I think it's a good play. Ayton at 6.4, I think, is in a good spot. He should, yeah, I like Ayton at 6.4. Two cheapies that have been seeing some minutes here lately is Rashawn Holmes at 3.1. Saw 21 minutes and 15 minutes his last two, put up 17 and 27 fantasy points. So if you're into that sort of thing, might look at Rashawn Holmes. Even Jamal Crawford at 3K, min-K, he's played 24 and 16 and 21 minutes in his last three. This game should be up pace. Crawford, if he gets any kind of minutes, he could easily dominate that value point at min price. So that's kind of what I'm looking at with Phoenix and Milwaukee. I think that one's a good game to target. It's got a lot of stackability. Should have a decently high pace. Milwaukee's going to make them play up to their pace. Hopefully Phoenix can play up to it and stick around because I think that game's good. Orlando and Denver, I'm not a huge fan of this game. 214 on total, Denver -8 at home. I can see the Nuggets just routing them. Jokic at 9.4. Probably one of my more favorite plays is Gary Harris at 5.7. I'll probably have some Gary Harris at 5.7 just because he's too cheap. This is a good spot for him. I don't really care for anybody in Orlando. I'm just going to be flat out honest. I don't really like that game a whole lot. So Portland at Golden State, we already know this game is going to be one for the ages. Two teams that are both in the top 5 in pace. There's no line on it. Kind of waiting to see. It looks like Draymond's not going to play, but we already know, which kind of bodes well because they've been kind of running Damian Jones at the true center spot. So I think that plays well for Nurk at 6.6. I think he sees quite a few minutes, and I think he's rather cheap for a center spot. So I like Nurk a little bit. Dame obviously at 9K, sure, love Dame. KD at 10.4, I think is a magnificent play tonight. Tonight is a night that I'll be playing KD. Hadn't really been playing him a whole lot lately, but I will play him tonight. Cheapies, I think you look at Quinn Cook at 5.1, 33 minutes last game. Kevon Looney at 3.7. He put up 20-something fantasy points last game. I don't hate him. For Portland, I think you can look at Aminu around the 5K range. I think he's going to be in a good spot. They should run a little smaller. Golden State does tend to, and Damian Jones is not exactly a huge center. So Aminu, I think, is in a decent spot with no Dre. Evan Turner at 4.1, I don't hate it. He usually plays up to games like this. He had some pretty good games against Golden State last year. So Evan Turner at 4.1, I think, is a decent play. That's kind of what I'm looking at in Portland and Golden State. Let's go to the nightcap of the night, Utah at Lakers. Just not really a whole bunch I like in this one either. Donovan Mitchell at 7.4, absolutely will be going back there at 7.4. I think Ricky Rubio at 6.3 is a fair price. One of the cheapies I really like is Jay Crowder at 4.4. He's put up 28, 33, 32.2 in his last two. 28.3 and 32.2 fantasy points in his last two games. He's at 4.4. That's really good numbers. You can deal with that. For the Lakers, I don't think I'm going to be playing LeBron at 11.7 or whatever price he is. I just don't see this game having that kind of appeal for him. I think Lonzo at 5.1 is a nice look. That's cheap for a starting point guard, obviously. Other than that, I would make sure and see if Josh Hart's playing. Josh Hart could probably be a decent look. Don't hate Kuzma as much, but it's not really a good game for him. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. That's really how my slate broke down the first run through. So I'm going to run through my faves and my favorite cheapies. My favorites are going to be Trae Young, Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, THJ, Julius Randle, Kawhi, Zach LaVine, Embiid, and Simmons, Bledsoe and Giannis, Jokic, Dame, Gary Harris, KD, and Donovan Mitchell. The cheapies that I like so far are Jeremy Lin, Trey Burke, Noah Vonleh, Jeff Green, my boy D. Wade, Wayne Ellington, Rudy Gay, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Jeremy Lamb in the revenge spot, Gary Harris. I guess I put him in the cheapies because he's only 5'7". Jay Crowder, and also look at Horford if he plays in that revenge spot as well. So that's going to do it for your post-Thanksgiving episode number 17, I believe. Yeah, this is episode number 17 of the Quick Bricks NBA DFS podcast. I'm trying to get ahead of myself. Hope you guys enjoy your Friday. Let's cash some lineups tonight, and let's chat about the slate here this afternoon. See you guys then.